Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. I am here today to talk with my good friend and colleague, Andrea Hylen. We're going to be learning from her. I know we're going to be learning all about ancestral healing and healing from family trauma through ancestral healing, right? That's what we're
Yes,
going to be talking.
yes, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting for those of you who are new to ancestral healing. And the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show is live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community or Facebook page. And I welcome all of you who, whether you're watching us live, you're with us live, or you're watching the replay. My name is Catherine Yarbrough. I'm one of the show hosts. My colleague, Jenny Robertson, is the other one. We rotate who gets to interview our wonderful real women who are part of this On Purpose Women community. And I'm also, just for your information, I'm also the creator of the Manifesting Clients Academy and a global facilitator in the On Purpose Woman global community. Now, as I said before, Andrea is my friend and colleague. So if you have not yet met Andrea Hylen, you are in for a treat. We have been dancing together. And I say dancing in the sense of we've come together and then we don't see each other for a little while and then we come together and we spend time for probably, I want to say 15 years. It might even have been longer. And Andrea is like a, one of the special people on the planet, in my opinion. She is intentional. She is spiritual. She is committed to her path and bringing her gifts forward and supporting other, usually women, in that as well. And I'm going to read some of the stuff that is more of the stuff we hear about in like a bio, just so you get a sense. She's a somatic intuitive coach, a ritualistic and ancestral lineage healing practitioner. She's also an author and the founder of the Incubator for Cultural Creatives and the nonprofit Heal My Voice. So there's more here, but we're going to find out from her really what's going on. So welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. I've been so looking forward to this conversation. It was months ago that we picked this date, and I happen to be in Seattle right now, staying with friends, and then I'll be pet sitting for them while they travel. And you're on the go.
Yes,
You're having
that's
a
right.
business trip too.
We're both on the go for the special interview. So, yeah, very fun. Well, so if you don't know, one of the other cool things about Andrea is she lives a home free lifestyle, right? Is that
Yep. Well,
house free
house
lifestyle?
free.
House free.
I am my home,
There
so
you
I always
go.
have my home with me.
I love
But
that. I
yeah,
love
it's a
that.
house-free lifestyle. I have a mailbox in Santa Monica and a small storage unit there, as well as boxes of books in several locations where I spend lots of time. Yeah, it's good.
So, if you ever want to know more about that kind of a lifestyle, reach out to Andrea. But we are here to talk about ancestral healing. So, before we even dive into that, Andrea, my first question for you is what types of experiences might our listeners be having right now in their lives that would have you think that ancestral healing might be helpful for them? And I'm asking that just to help people decide if they want to tune in more or not, basically.
Sure. Well, first of all, when you're doing any kind of ancestral lineage healing, I feel like there's a couple of foundational pieces that would interest you or not. One is that there's some sort of belief in an unseen world and that you can connect with. And so that's one piece. If you're like absolutely not, don't even want to go there, then this probably is not a place for you, or you could just stay and have a curiosity. But the second thing is a curiosity and an ability to imagine. So an example is like a guided meditation. If you've ever done a guided meditation and someone says, imagine yourself someplace in nature, and whether or not you just felt that, you sensed it, you see a visual. I don't see a visual and I don't hear, but some people do. I just have a sense that I'm there. And then the third thing is there's a desire to build a relationship with the unseen world. And primarily because there's something going on in your life that you feel like no matter what you've, how many different types of healing modalities you've used, how many times you've written about it, how many therapy sessions you've had, there's still this thing that's lingering there that feels like, I don't know, maybe it feels like a block, or maybe it feels like this repeating pattern that comes back, and you go, I can't figure out how to get rid of this or change it or transform it in some way. So yeah, those are the things that I would say, which is what led me to um, the ancestry work, was because there was a pattern for decades that I was like, what is it? Like, what else do I need to do? Yeah.
Well, so before you tell us that, because I want to hear about that, I would like to share also that I decided to work with Andrea several months ago, if that's okay for me to share this.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I'll say why. Certainly there's some repeating patterns. And I was curious about whether or not ancestral healing would help. Nothing so severe that I was like desperate. But I also learned that when we do the ancestral healing, it not only heals us, so me, when I do it, it heals me, but it also helps to heal the past, my ancestors, and clear energy through the past line. And I do believe in this stuff, or I believe, I mean, there's something, we're connected to our ancestors in some way or another. And that when anything from the past or the present heals, it gets translated through into the children and their children. So it continues on. And so I do have a son, and hopefully he'll have children. So it sounded like a win-win-win, in that it would be supportive, possibly even into my bigger family, that it could impact my bigger family. And I hadn't been at all interested in this kind of healing prior to this work with you, Andrea. So that's another possible reason that someone might be interested, is to keep healing the lines our of our families, in so for the sake of the future, and mainly for the sake of the future. I mean, it's good to heal the past.
Absolutely.
It is the past.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I wanted to say that, and I want to hear what got you into and interested in the ancestral healing work, as well as any examples you might have of other people in terms of their kinds of challenges that they face. But let's start with you, because maybe that's all we need to hear about.
Yeah, I mean, I am I'm kind of the poster child for it because I, from a young age, let's just say what I would call it now is that I was very committed to intergenerational healing. Now, as a child, it looked like codependency. It looked like how can I rescue or save people in my household, or, noticing the dysfunction or harm that was happening, trying to shift something. And then as an adult, I started doing work around the family with Al Anon family constellation work. And it seemed like every decade I would be like, well, let's peel this layer of the onion. Let's go look at this, where in ancestral work, I would call it the burdens that we carry, the burdens that we can see. Now, an easy way to see it is when there's a physical ailment that gets passed from generation to generation, that might be heart disease, or a kind of cancer or something. But there's also beliefs, and there's also limitations that can be passed generation to generation. So I was going along my merry way, feeling like I was healing things, working on family intergenerational trauma, and continuing. I started Heal My Voice for women to write stories about trauma, loss, and grief, reclaim the power that was tied up in the story. Many of those were family stories or relationship type stories. And then beginning in 2017, I had a series of incidents with family and extended family that just began to shake something in me. And it created ruptures in relationship. I even had a situation with my ex husband, who I had been divorced from for 30 years. And although it was a very, from my perspective, abusive relationship for me, I we had figured out co-parenting and going to the high school or college graduation and things like that. And I had this situation where it felt like the way he was behaving and the way I was kind of trapped in a conversation with him felt like 30 years before that. And there were just there were these little things that were happening with childhood trauma. Felt like it was coming back whenever I was with my parents. I would go and visit them once a year, and things with my sister, and some conversations with my daughters where I just felt like, what is it going to take to heal this trauma? Why is this trauma here again? And a friend suggested that I look into ancestral lineage healing. And I'd always been interested in ancestors. I was always like the genealogist in my family. I walked through cemeteries with my grandmother. I had an interest in the family stories and everything. But when she said that, I said, okay, maybe there's something I'm missing. And I want to say to the listeners, this is a huge field. Matter of fact, if this is a new idea to you, you might want to go and read some of Amy Gillespie Dougherty's books, the series she's been doing, Ancestors Within, that you can get on Amazon, maybe other ways too. But I say that because she's had all these different people write about their ancestor experiences. And for some, there's like, maybe a one session type of a thing that you could do around your ancestors, or you can use some of the simple practices. I went on a quest for getting into a deeper place with my ancestors that was beyond my grandparents who I knew, but tapping into something in this unseen world to look for the elders who had not really been available to me in this lifetime, either because of their own alcoholism or trauma experiences that were never healed. And I wanted to look back for where are those elders who I can really sit with, who have wisdom and can help me with the blessings of this lineage. Yeah. So that's the basics of that.
So, okay, so you were going through this once again. It was like a once again having some issues with people, with your ex-husband, with your family. And it was like, all right, so what's up with this? And someone suggested the ancestral healing, ancestral lineage healing, say the right thing here. And so you said, all right, because of who you are, you were already intrigued. So it got you going in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, what happened when you started exploring?
So ultimately, I worked with a couple of different practitioners, took a couple of classes, and honestly, I felt a little bit lost because it was like, connect with the realms, call in your ancestors. And, calling in your ancestors is like hundreds, thousands. It's not, and I already talked to my deceased grandmother and grandfather. And I mean, I had one on each side that I was really close to and who were letter writers. So I'd read their letters they'd written to me. And like I already had that relationship. But then I came across Daniel Foer's work and his ancestral medicine book. So I took a series of courses with him. And what I liked about it was that he had this 5-step structure that could hold me. And then we were focused on four primary lines, which are the grandmothers of our bloodlines, and then just work with one line at a time. And that just, when I first started working with that, I began to feel a connection to ancient ones. I even had a connection pretty early on with a Swedish line of grandfathers where someone came forward and I was like, okay, I really feel like there's something here, even though I've never heard this name before. But I was like, all right, I'll go with it. And I started to find the indigenous tribes of Sweden and I felt a connection there. I could see that lineage, like those gifts already within me that I was expressing. And then my daughter called me one day and said, oh, did you see this cute Christmas movie called Klaus? And I said, no. And so I looked into it. And lo and behold, there was a character who was speaking the indigenous language of my ancestors that I had just learned about. And so that's kind of the interesting or freaky stuff that can happen when you start to connect with a line of ancestors, is that this other information comes in that to me is confirmation, is saying, I mean, just this random conversation. I believe in synchronicity. So to me, that was the sign of it. But it was that structure. And so then I just decided to sign up for the practitioner program with Daniel
Well,
Ford. Yeah.
before you tell us more about that, I want to speak. It was your Swedish ancestors, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So what's interesting to me, as I said before, I started working with Andrea a few months ago. It feels like it's been several months now. And when I see my ancestors in my mind, I have worked with the line of my father. Anyway, I can't remember exactly, but anyway, they've been guys, but they're dark. They're dark and they have dark hair, and there's nothing Swedish about them. Now you can look at me and you can see how I likely don't have any, ancestral blood that's Swedish. I mean, because I think of those types of people as kind of tall and blondish and blue eyes, and yeah. And as you were saying that, I was like, well, yes, I see you. Of course, you've got a Swedish line in you, and that I didn't think about it, but in the work, what actually has shown up are these more almost Middle Eastern or Southern Europe kind of look to the men and the people who have been in my ancestral. So that's just fascinating to me because it's not intentional. That was not, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes
Yeah,
any sense
well,
whatsoever.
I love that you brought that up because it's actually one of the common things that, like in the first session, we do kind of an assessment where you're just focused on the energy of each of these lines separately. And one of the common things that either comes up in the first or second session is, wow, they feel so different. Like
Mhm.
there's just this sensing of this line. I mean, it might be like, oh, this line is really loud, or this line is really quiet, or it can be all kinds of different things. But there is this kind of awe that comes up that I've seen over and over with people, and I experienced it myself of like, oh wow, I can really feel that these are my people. And I've even had it happen with someone and a couple of people who are adopted and don't know anything about their blood lineages. But there's something about, oh my gosh, I feel connected to this line, or I feel this in me. And since we're on that line, I'll just say one of the other common things is this sense of, it's not about, oh, I'm going to go find these new things out. It's more about, I'm remembering something that's already in me, because the ancestors, the bloodline is in your DNA, it's in your blood, it's in your bones. It's like I mean, science is showing us that in epigenetics. And there's that sense of, wow, I kind of know this about myself, but now I feel like I've remembered something at a deeper level.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. The DNA that we carry, in a sense, the memories of everyone who came before us through the DNA, and whether it was a good experience or traumatic experience, it's in the DNA that came into us. And that is what we're remembering, in a sense, through that it really, it's not some, for me, it's not make believe. I mean, that makes sense to me. We just as human beings don't have, are just now discovering a lot of this alternative stuff has merit.
Mhm.
And anyhow, I want to say to anybody who's watching, if you're watching live or watching the replay, please share your thoughts or comments or questions. I am sure that Andrea will reach out to you. And before we go any further, because I've got a couple other questions. I know you want to say more. I want to just toot your horn about my experience with the ancestral healing work that I've done so far, and I'm continuing on. For those of you who are curious, and I have done a lot of healing work, and I hadn't been interested in anything for several years because, life gets, I got good enough. But somehow this work, I thought this will be another piece, another, as Andrew said, the onion. So I find the work extraordinarily intriguing and interesting, and it's opening me to new dimensions in myself, in my understanding of myself. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else unfolds. So Andrea, I know you've got a special opportunity for people to get started working with you. Will you tell them about it?
I do. I have a discounted rate for the first 3 sessions, and so that you can try it out and see what it is. And in those first 3 sessions, the first one is to do a basic assessment of, I'm going to use the word wellness. Now, why would a lineage not be well? It could be something like there was a famine, there was a war, there was loss of different kinds. So we just do an assessment of wellness and then select one line to work with, one of the lines of grandmothers or grandfathers, and to connect with an ancient guide on that line and to ask them to begin lineage repair. And that's something that we turn over to the ancestors, asking them to do that, as well as asking them about what are some of the blessings on this line and asking them to contain the burdens that are there. And maybe they'll tell you a little bit about the burdens and help you to understand what happens. So you go to my website, andreahylen.com. I know it's in the description there. And if you go to the services and programs, there's ancestral lineage healing and has some basic information there. And if you're saying, well, I'm kind of curious about it, but I'm not really sure, you can email me and we'll set up a 30-minute um, free session, discovery session to explore that. And I can give you more information about that. And while we're on the subject of the website, while you're there, I highly encourage you, if you are interested in the ancestral lineage healing, to sign up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, because beginning in the next few days, I'm going to start a series, posting a series talking about more information, more than we can cover in a short conversation here together. So I'll kind of break it into digestible pieces and give you something to think about based on the work that I've been doing with Daniel Four. Yeah.
So that's great. So go to andreahylen.com and check out her very, very reasonable special rate for your first 3 sessions. And I just want to say, Andrea, you have been doing all kinds of work. You have trained in energy healing, I know, and Reiki, which is energy healing, but different kinds. And this is just another piece that you have added to your bucket. But it feels like you're really, right now, at least focusing mainly on doing the ancestral healing. But I want everybody to know that there's a lot more
Yeah.
within you that comes in to the work that you hold the space for us, those of us who decide to work with you. So is there anything else about your story and your experience with this process is you feel is important to share that you think listeners might be interested in?
The thing that I want to say is that any kind of personal growth work that we do is not it's not a quick fix. It's like anything. You decide I want to increase the health of my body. Then you decide to do yoga. Well, you're not going to do one yoga session and then all of a sudden I've increased it's like, yes, you've just begun a path. So it's been a couple of years of working with this work. And I want to tell you that I was just in California for a few weeks and I hadn't been there since February. So however many months, February to September. And I could feel that something has changed in me. There was something where, because I do every day, it's not like I work actively with my ancestors every day, but I do say good morning and I do light a candle. I have this presence and I am aware of the connectedness we have to the land. So maybe good morning, sun, or it's a beautiful day, thank you. And then I go about my day. I'm working with clients, I'm running errands, I'm paying bills, it's like I'm doing my day. And I do feel like I have this incredible support around me with the wellness of my ancestors. And I could feel that I was lighter, I was more joyful. And for someone who has no problem walking down the street singing out loud, to feel more joyful doing that is like, oh, there's like another edge. Oh, I have this thing that's there. The thing to say about that doesn't take away from, I mean, I've always had angels or archangels or um, saints or different deities who I've worked with through energy modalities and other things. It's just that the difference is I feel like I have these elders now who I can lean on in a way that I just feel lighter. Yeah, it's good.
Mm,
It's
mm,
good. It's a good thing. I like it.
yeah. Yeah, I can see that possibility for myself because of the little bit of work I've done with you. So I like that too. So are there any other benefits to the ancestral healing that you've either noticed in other people or heard about that might have someone want to try it out? Just,
Well, I'll tell you, and that's one of the reasons to go to the YouTube channel because I'm going to tell some stories there. But one story that comes to me, and again, I could tell the stories of other people, and sometimes there's the whole privacy thing. You wonder how much to say, even though I'm seeing things and this lightness, this seems to be a common thing also that comes up. Like I'm feeling lighter, I'm feeling more joyful. But I had something happen where I had a grandson who was born this summer. And as I was doing the ancestral work, someone had suggested I do these heart coherence meditations. There was like a 100 days, in a group where every morning they were posting one. And so I'm holding my grandson every morning for a few hours. And at the same time, I'm playing this heart coherence meditation. And I'm like, oh, I feel so good, and this is good for him. And then one morning I realized when my father died about a year or so ago, one of the things that he never fully resolved in his life was self love. And even though there were many people who loved him and had big stories about him, it felt like there was a quest for him of looking for love, trying to be loved. There was just this woundedness. And as I was thinking about him, I was thinking about my a couple of relatives, like in different generations, and even my son, who was born with a congenital heart defect and died at the age of 19 months. So there's this line of the heart. Oh, and my dad had lots of heart surgeries. He had like 11 angioplasties, a quadruple bypass. I mean, heart, heart, heart. And I had this moment because I'd been working with forgiveness and working with him in spirit for the past year since he died of like, ah, this is where the healing happens because here in the present moment, I'm doing heart coherence meditations and bringing in that imprint for this next generation.
Mm.
And so to me, that's some of what I've experienced these moments where you see the pattern that was, and you see how, as a living person, I'm imprinting something different.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful story. So your grandson is it like the breaking free of the lineage of the heart challenge
Yeah.
has been broken.
Yeah.
It's like that line has been broken, and your grandson is getting the new transmission with you through you because of the work you've been doing, which is just see that's why I said yes to this for the future generations. I mean, and of course for me, I'll take any betterment, but that
Sure.
feels right at the moment. But yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, it's a big
So,
motivator for those of us who see the patterns in our lineage, whether we have children or not, just wanting to have bring something onto the planet, something in our lines that could help, yeah,
mhm,
change our own life, but also impact others.
mhm.
Yeah.
So I know that you shared that people who are not really able to use guided imagery or guided meditations, probably not a good fit for people who don't believe or are not open to the unseen world. It's probably not a good fit for. But otherwise, do you think everyone should do ancestral healing?
Yes. I mean, and it's funny. I mean, can I think of other reasons for it? It's if you're someone who wants to improve your life, you've had some practice with that, you're doing something, whether you're, I don't know, meditating or you've done EFT tapping, you look for modalities, you have that desire. Um, to me, the biggest thing is that we have been functioning in the world with with using our blessings, using the things that are natural gifts, like maybe there's a line of writers, artists, and you know that you are writing, you do this in your work, but you've been carrying a backpack of rocks while you've been doing it. And so this is about releasing the burdens and embracing more of the blessings. I worked with a group of 17 women this summer in the incubator where I offered the ancestral work. I always offer a different topic in the incubator when I do this, working with writers and cultural creatives and all. Um, but there were every single person, even those who had never done any ancestral lineage healing or found value in the connection, that there was something there. And these are all people who have done something with they believe that there's something in the unseen, even if they never thought about contacting their ancient ancestors. I think it's common that there's some desire to want to connect with a loved one who dies that you know there's some curiosity or there's some desire around that, but this is going further back to those who are not on your genealogy records, someone who, yeah, chances are was not recorded, and they're there as support. So far everyone I'm working with, everyone who I've even offered it to and with another program has found benefit to it. Yeah.
Well, very cool. Wonderful, wonderful. I love spending time with you, Andrea. This has been enlightening for me to hear more of your story and more of your perspective on this work as and witness. It's been such a pleasure, not just today, but for the past whatever, I don't know, our whole journey. It's just a pleasure to witness you and what you take on. So before I do my last closing remarks here, is there anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to let people know about? I know if you didn't hear before about Andrea's special offer, go to her website, andreahylen.com, look under services and programs, I believe, and you'll find the information about how you can save money on her first 3 sessions with her ancestral healing. But besides that, what would you like our listeners to just take away from this listening?
I would say open to the idea that you have ancestors who are well, who have healed whatever happened in their lifetime. They've come into their spirit form and they are healed. And that there are a lot of different ways to connect with them, connect with that energy. And so, like I said, I'm going to be doing some things on YouTube so you could learn a little bit more. And in the YouTubes, I'm also going to be talking about other resources and other people to work with. So, follow if there's some curiosity, follow the curiosity around it. And it may be that you find a book or you find a free talk, or that there's a summit through something like the Shift Network that are talking about. There's so much right now. And also it feels like this is a time where there's a collective healing that is connected with the ancestors. And so there's a lot of support for you to look into that.
Oh,
Yeah.
so wonderful. So, my friends, go explore. And thank you for joining us. Again, share your comments and your thoughts and your questions below. Thank you for joining us for this Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. Thank you, Andrea. We were live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community, On Purpose Woman Magazine and Global Community Facebook page. And if wherever you watched it, if you watched it here or if you watched it on YouTube, please share it with your friends. Tell everyone about Andrea. Tell everyone about the On Purpose Women Global Community. And if you go to YouTube, type in On Purpose Women Global Community, and you can find all of our past interviews. There are over 100. There's lots there of amazing real women with real purpose talking about what they're doing, what they're learning, and what they offer. So please check that out. There's also presentations that are there that we are now recording presentations from our On Purpose Woman gathering. So you have lots of resources at the On Purpose Woman Global Community YouTube channel. So go over there, subscribe, and watch and be inspired and share whatever you want. And we will be back, Jenny or I will be back next month in November with more Real Women, Real Purpose talk show interviews. So see you next time. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.